So,
all right, let me introduce you to Charlie Knigge. We're at Knigge Farms where the cows milk themselves. And Charlie is the son of Pete and Theo, which started this farm back in
1974.
1974. And hopefully it will get passed on then to their son, maybe in the future. How old is Jacob now?
Jacob's 11 years old, 5th grade.
11 years old. All right, so please give Charlie your undivided attention. And if he doesn't address any of the questions in your lab manual, please ask him those questions.
Okay? I know I'll skip some stuff, so. Okay, like Shannon said, I'm Charlie Knigge. I've been farming my whole life. Worked a couple other jobs off the farm out of high school and just kind of realized that that's not what I wanted to do. Taking care of cows around the land is kind of my passion, and that's what I'm doing. Mom and Dad moved here in 1974 from Kenosha County, southern part of the state. They were farming down there, wanted to expand the dairy operation, and land wasn't readily available. A lot of urban sprawl, a lot of pressure from people building houses out in the country, and that's how they relocated back up here. My mother was from Berlin, so this is kind of back in her neck of the woods. And they purchased the farm up to the year 2000. We were milking cows in the old red barn you see down the hill when you drove in. Pretty typical standard red Wisconsin milk barn. Milked 50 cows in there. In the year 2000, we wanted to expand the dairy herd. There's two families pulling income off 50 cows. Didn't quite work, and so we more than doubled the herd. Currently, we're milking about 110 cows. We've got room for 120 milking cows. That's just the cows that are 2 years old producing milk. On the farm altogether, there's probably about 300 animals from the baby calves. You can see that baby was just born about an hour ago, up to cows that are in the barn producing milk. Every cow you'll see in the barn has a responder or a collar on it with a visual number that we can see what that cow's number is. This little box here is how the milker identifies which cow is in the stall. It also has a pedometer on it that measures the cow's activity as they're walking around the barn. This is a pretty typical freestall barn. The old tie stall barn, you call it, or red Wisconsin barn. Every cow there had their own stall to go into. They're let out a couple times a day for exercise, but whenever they came back in, they went into that stall. They had a collar on which hooked up to a chain. They had food, water. They were milked in that stall. Up here, being a freestall barn, the cows are free to lay wherever they want in the stalls. When they want to get something to eat, they come up to the feed alley, get some food. Water troughs are spread through the barn, but there's nothing holding them into one stall. Our unique feature of this barn is we don't actually milk the cows ourselves. We have an automated milking system that in the year 2000 we were the first ones to put that in the U.S. Prior to that, 2-3 years there in Canada, and in the mid-'80s the Lele company invented the automated milking system, and it's very popular in Europe, getting very popular here in the States, but European technology that we were able to implement on our farm and be more efficient. If we're milking this many cows, traditionally with a freestall barn like this, you'd have another building where you take all the cows out to that building and milk them and then bring them back here. To milk this many cows, we'd probably have 3 or 4 full-time employees to take care of the milking chores, and we weren't crazy about finding people, training people, and having them milk the cattle. Cows are a lot easier to work with than people, and so that's kind of why we chose to go with the automated system to milk the cattle. So if you guys got any questions at all, anytime, feel free to just shout them out. I'll do my best to answer them. We can come this way. We've got both rooms open. You can watch some cows getting milked. When a cow goes in, I'll explain the process of what's going on and how long what it's doing. Cows average milk themselves about 3 times a day. They're producing about 80-85 pounds of milk a day, which is roughly 10 gallons of milk. And so the cows are doing very well for us. So if you guys just want to come this way, and then you can see the milking process. On this side over here, the cow just came in and will start milking. The first thing you'll see is there's some brushes that are up under her udder right now. It's cleaning off the teats because you want a nice clean teat to put the cup on to get the milk out. And it also stimulates the cow to start letting her milk down and be harvested by the milker.
Charlie, Ken wants
Maybe if you guys are good. Okay, these are silo bags, we refer to them as. That's where we're storing most of the, we have corn silage over here, which is the whole corn plant chopped up. The alfalfa hay is on the other side. Prior to using the silo bags, you can see the two concrete silos on the other side of the barn. We'd fill one with haylage, one with corn silage. That'd be enough to feed our 50 cows that we're milking down there. Expanded the herd, we needed more feed storage. The bags are a lot less expensive and a lot easier to unload than the tower silos are. There's actually a machine up in there that goes around, digs the feed out, blows it down. It's slow unloading. There's a lot of maintenance involved with it, and climbing up and down the silo all the time isn't fun. We're using silo bags right now. We're set up with this one. The green machine there, the feed will get fed into there, and it presses it into this bag. The cables are set up on there in a brake assembly to really force the feed in. The idea there, you want to pack it all in nice and tight. The bags are airtight, so once we're done making the bag, we'll close off the other end, and the feed will ferment. And then it'll be a good feed to feed the cows year-round. If you just pile it outside, it would rot. And most of the feed in the bags is about 70% moisture. So we can put it in the bags a little bit wetter. We can put it in the tower silos, which is great around here because you can get the feed off the field quick. And when you get rain during the summer, if you get rain on the crop, it's a lot less feed value to that hay, and you do run a chance of actually losing a crop because you get so much rain it'll rot in the field before you can get it harvested and put in the bags. The downside of the bags, it's a one-use deal. You make the bag, you're continuously cutting the plastic off to get to more feed. See a pile of garbage over there, most of it's ag bag plastic. There's not a good way, they don't accept that plastic at recycling centers yet. And so currently it's just burned on the farm, which isn't a great idea, but it's the only way to get rid of it. And hopefully as soon as they come up with a way that can be recycled, we'll definitely be looking at doing that. But that is the downside of the bags. It's a lot of plastic, and either goes in landfill or is burned. Two silver bins you see over here. The large one, we store corn in that. It's actually got a large furnace underneath that will harvest the corn. Next week when we start harvesting corn, it'll be about 20 to 25% moisture, and we have to dry it down to about 13% moisture for it to keep and not rot. And that's why there's a big furnace under there. It takes about 4 or 5 days when that's full of corn to dry it down to get it the right moisture, so it'll keep, once you get it to 13% moisture, it'll keep for years at a time. The smaller one actually has soybeans in it, and we keep those, most of the crops, about half or a little more of the crops we grow get fed to the cows. The rest is all sold as a cash crop on the open market. A number of grain elevators around here we can go to sell the crops, but we keep back beans because some of the beans we feed to the cows, and so about half that bin a year is what I'll need for feeding cows. And so we store those here, and we take them to the feed mill when we need to take more in. So, okay, we'll head back down this way. Back of the wagon. Who knows what that is? Exactly. Bring it up right now to you guys. Slow-moving vehicles. A lot of farm equipment on the road right now. It's harvest season. We move pretty slow, 20, 25 miles an hour tops. We take up a lot of room. So when you're going down the road, just be aware of those symbols, flashing lights. We're not trying to take up the road. We're just trying to get to what we're doing. And it's moving slow and doesn't react quick to people. So just please give us a little break, slow down a little bit, and wave with more than one finger when you go past. It really makes my day. And, we do our best to stay off the road as much as we can, but we're spread out a little bit. You've got to run down the roads to get to the cropland. And so just when you come up with something large, just realize it's not moving 65 miles an hour down the road. So that's my little soapbox about being safe with farmers. So. This is our commodity shed and chicken house. This is where we store some of the different feeds we're feeding the cows. This is dry hay in the first bay here. That hay is down to about that 10-12% moisture. Typically when we're putting feed in the bags, we're cutting it one day, we're harvesting it the next and putting it in the bags. To make dry hay, it takes about a week of really nice weather for the hay to be cut and get down to that moisture to put in the bales. It's got to be that dry or else it would rot. And so the reason we do put up some dry hay, it's a lot longer pieces of stalk in there, and so it's better for the cow's intestine to get some long fiber in them. The downside, about 4 years ago, I lost 100 acres of our cropland growing hay on it because I couldn't get it dry. It just about get dry, we get rain. We've played with it for about 2 weeks, and by that time it was brown, it was stinky, we just had to blow it back on the ground. Not a good thing to do, but that's majority of the feed goes into the bags or into big piles and covered up, just because it's so much quicker to get that hay put up than make dry hay with it. This next bay here is our protein mix. There's probably 12, 14 different ingredients in there. About a third of it's our soybeans that they take to the feed mill. They roast them. It changes around the protein of the soybeans. If they eat just raw soybeans, it's soluble protein will get digested in their stomach. By roasting them, it turns it into bypass protein, which is used in their intestines. And it's better for the cows that way. I don't know why for sure, but that's what our nutritionist tells us. That's what we do. This last bay here, this is an extra credit question. Non-farm people, or yeah, anybody that can guess what this is, you can grab it, feel it, eat it if you want. Part of cotton. Cotton seed. Obviously, we don't grow cotton here. This comes in from down south, and yeah, it's got some fuzz left on it. So, prior to somebody figuring out you could feed cattle cottonseed, it was a waste. It was hauled back on the fields and plowed under. What we're after the cottonseed for is oil, and there's some protein in it, but if you break the seed open, it's like a sunflower seed inside. It's really an oily seed, and so that's what we're feeding it for. The part of the reason we run, everything gets ran through a mixer is different feeds have different flavors. If I throw a shovel full of cottonseed up in the bunk, the cows aren't really going to want to eat it. Not their favorite thing to eat. Compared to dry hay or silage, they really aggressively like to eat it. So by putting everything through the mixer, blending it all together, they can't sort out what they want to eat and what they don't want to eat. So we know they're getting the right amount of energy and nutrients out of the feed and not picking out just stuff they want to eat. So, but that's part of the nutrition service we hire. They look at all the different commodities that we have on the farm and look at different feeds we can purchase and come up with a recipe we need to make for the cows. We're feeding the cows once a day. Typically every morning we're mixing up feed, taking about 10,000 pounds of feed into the barn every morning just to feed the milk cows. And then the young stock, they're getting fed about every other day. So always a lot of stuff going on, always a lot of mouths to feed. So.
Over in these little bit individual pens here, we've got one calf in there that's under a week old. And so we keep them individual here until they're on their feet good, aggressively eating, and then they put them out in their group pens with the other calves. And so the calves, these calves here are fed twice a day, which is very common what we're doing in the calf huts before that. But in here, it's an automated system. When the calves want to eat, they come up to a stall and they get fed. We're feeding them up to 6 times a day. And the idea there, it's more often feeding, not as much at a time. And we've noticed the calves growing a lot bigger and a lot healthier with this sort of a system. That's where we were raising the calves before we moved into the nursery. Worked very well. The calves just spend the first 2 months of their life in there. They get fed milk twice a day. The downside is feeding the calves, you're outside all the time. And whether like this or when it's snowing or raining, you're still out feeding the calves. And by utilizing the nursery now, everything's inside. It's a lot easier to take care of. Traditionally, all the calves are raised in individual calf huts like that. The reason is the calves, like I said, were born without an immune system, and so they're really susceptible to passing disease along from one to the other. And so that's why it's very common for people to raise calves in calf huts and keep them separate. We were a little nervous about moving into the barn, having everybody together. You get a sick calf and get everybody sick. We haven't noticed that at all, and a lot of that's attributed to the nutrition and the calves eating a lot more, being a lot healthier in the environment up there. So we're very pleased with that so far. But the calf huts worked very well for a number of years, but we're just trying to make it easier on everybody feeding them. So, okay, back on the wind. There's a few that are ready to sell right now, but every month we'll pick 4 or 5 of the bigger ones out and sell them to the auction facility, and somebody else will buy them and raise them up into beef steers. What we use, I do rent another shed from a neighbor to store some stuff in. Got a number of our tractors in here. Big tractors here is used for a lot of tillage work. In the fall, that's where we use that for our conservation tillage. The machine we pull, a deep ripper, it'll go in the ground, I said like 14 inches, and leave about 70% of the residue on top. It takes a lot of horsepower to do that. We've got some of our planters are up in the back corner. These 3 large wagons you see here, that's our forage wagons. When we're making haylage and corn sides, we pull a chopper through the field and pick the crop up, cut it up into inch-long pieces, load it into those wagons, and then from there we'll haul it up, put it in the bagger, which is like a giant sausage stuffer to make those silo bags. In the back, you see the large red thing with wings on it. That's our finished digger we use in the also helps with soil erosion and spring groundhog flat. There's a lot of ridges that catch the water, and that'll go through, level off, making a nice smooth surface for growing crops. Very common to see everybody put their machinery away here in the winter. We've got a lot of money invested in the equipment here in the shed, so we try to keep it out of the weather and make it last as long as we can.
Got everybody? Okay, this is our milk house. All the milk coming in from the cows is pumped in through this little stainless line. Goes in a large tank right there. Milk is held there for 2 days. Every other day the milk hauler will come in. There's a measuring stick in that tank. So the first thing, when he gets here, he'll hit a switch on the wall, and then that'll stop the milk going into that tank. That's the smaller tank is for. That'll hold milk for a couple hours while that tank is getting emptied and washed, ready for milk again. He'll read that dipstick on the tank, see how much milk is in it. That gets recorded. We sell the milk to a cheese plant in Waupun. Most of it gets made into mozzarella cheese. And so he'll measure it. We sell milk what's not in pounds. It's referred to as a hundredweight, so 100 pounds of milk. And that's how we're paid on per 100 pounds of milk we sell to the cheese plant. You notice it's nice and warm in here. That is coming from cooling the milk down. We have to cool it down to, we've got to keep it under 40 degrees for it to stay fresh. And so that is just a refrigerated tank, and then the warm in here is coming from cooling that milk. We also utilize that for making hot water. And so keeps us nice and warm in here, especially in the winter. So you'll notice a lot of stainless steel. Everything's got to be clean. We're a grade A dairy, which is the highest standard you can be to sell milk to the state. So that means at least once a year there's a state inspector that'll come out to the farm and look at everything, how clean the pipes are, the inside of the tanks, make sure everything's washed properly, milking equipment, that everything's maintained and working properly. And if you have anything wrong, if you've got enough stuff wrong, they can actually shut you off and you won't be able to sell milk to correct those problems. So it's always, the inspector comes around and unannounced, they just show up and they do their inspection and leave you a report when they're done. So, okay, if you want to go back into the office, I can show you some stuff on the computer and answer any questions or stuff I forgot. So. Okay, computer system here is what keeps track of everything going on in the barn, from the gauges here, how the cows are doing, how the machine is working. All of our herd information is also stored in here. So the cow that just had a calf, I recorded that it had a calf, and so that calf will get its own page. It's all its health information, and IDs are all kept there, and from it's born till the time it leaves our farm. A lot of different reports we can bring up from cows that haven't visited the milker often enough. They'll come up on a report. We like cows at least get milked every 12 hours. We're averaging about 3 milkings a day, so they're coming through more than that, but there's always some cows you got to go out and remind to come up and get milked. So over here we've got the semen tank filled with liquid nitrogen to keep the semen frozen until we need to use it to breed the cows. And
raw milk. Okay. The milk we produce here in the bulk tank is considered raw milk. It's not been pasteurized. Pasteurization is a process of taking the milk, heating up to a really high temperature, and cooling it back down to kill some of the pathogens that are in the milk. The same deal is you don't eat raw or undercooked chicken or meat. Sorry, you go to Mexico, you don't drink the water in Mexico because you're not used to it, you're going to get sick. Same deal with the raw milk. Your bodies aren't used to all the different pathogens that are in the milk, and pasteurization will make that a lot safer product for you guys to consume. Again, some people feel that there's a health benefit from drinking unpasteurized milk, and there's a lot of risk associated with that.
Do you guys drink raw milk?
Yes, we do. Been drinking it forever, bodies are used to it. So, but for you guys to consume raw milk, the risk is just too great. There's no health benefits related to that at all, but some people feel that it's better for you. It's illegal to sell raw milk in the state of Wisconsin, just for the health concerns of it. And the danger would be if somebody gets sick from drinking raw milk and it gets into the press, it's going to hurt the dairy industry. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to come across as milk made somebody sick, not raw milk. And so that's why we choose to keep Wisconsin a state that it's illegal to sell raw milk in.
I think there is some farms that do sell raw milk, but they have to have like a 4-page written agreement between the consumer and the farmer saying that you relinquish all liability, and there was quite a controversy on that 5 or 6 years ago. And so there are some farmers who do sell raw milk, and the people who buy it are quite adamant about saying they really want it, but we don't think the health risk is worth the risk of consuming raw milk for non-raw milk consumers like we are.
The other thing, our milk in the bulk tank runs about, what are the fat and protein?
4% butterfat and 3.5 protein.
Yeah, so it's a lot richer than the stuff you guys get from the store. They'll take the cream or the butterfat out of it for the milk. It's, you get 2% or 1% milk, and they pull some of the fat out of it for you guys to drink too. So our milk is a lot thicker and richer than the store. I drink store milk when you go somewhere to a meeting and it tastes like water to me. It's really thin. So.